Welcome back, everybody, to the Tennessee Titans franchise. We are going through the Year 2 offseason today and recapping the stream I did on Saturday, which was 3.5 hours, so we're cutting it down significantly. It was a fun stream. If you want to watch it in full, it's linked in a YouTube card on this video. But I'll break down all the important events of the offseason. There were going to be a lot of very big decisions to make for this year. But we're coming off a very successful season and off-season that saw us add 2 players that eventually went on to win Rookie of the Year. Tight end Sal Sexton and pass rusher Terrell Riddick. We're still missing some things. This was a Titans team that when I took over, I felt like they were one of the least talented teams in franchise that you could pick. And there's still a lot that I want to do. And some important pending free agents. In year 1, the Cincinnati Bengals were the Super Bowl champions, and now it's the Chicago Bears, who shockingly go on to win the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills by 1 point. David Montgomery is the MVP, Justin Fields is a Super Bowl winner, and the Bears go on the miracle run as the 7th seed in the NFC. And we traded them, of course, Robert Woods and Taylor Lewan, so we helped out their rebuild a little bit. But definitely one of the most surprising Super Bowl winners in any of the franchises I've done on this channel. This is way ahead of schedule for Chicago. And we weren't too far away from being there to take them on this year. So, how do we get back to playing for a possible Super Bowl in this series? Defensively, I knew we had to do something about the run defense. That was by far the team's greatest weakness, but I didn't feel like the defense needed a lot of stuff. Offensively, Calvin Ridley, Derrick Henry, McCole Hardman, all pending free agents. We had to worry about playmaker as well as the offensive line because that's also been one of our greatest weaknesses. We did have 2 players retire, Linval Joseph and Tyrod Taylor, 2 players I wasn't sure would be back to begin with, so nothing surprising there, but one of my potential free agent targets did retire, and that was the veteran center Rodney Hudson. So already one less option for us thinking about free agency, but also thinking about the draft, and selecting now in the late 20s as opposed to number 4 last year. I've been wanting to see where the playmakers would go, and the mocks have the top receiver Devian Bynes going at 11, and really just one other receiver throughout the rest of the first round. So you felt good about us being able to maybe spend our first round pick on a young receiver to develop, but Devian Bynes, we've known he's a top 5 talent, he's a good athlete, he has so many strengths as well. Deep route running is an A, short route running, B catching, A ball carrier vision, and A spectacular catch. A lot to like about Bynes. But my second favorite receiver wasn't even in the first round mock, and that was AJ Bingham. He is not as athletic as Bynes, doesn't have as many great strengths, but is very dangerous with the ball in his hands, is still a good route runner. I felt like both were really good wide receiver 1 upside options. There was Corey Lockley. He's a different archetype. He's more, I've been comparing him to Mike Williams. He's a big body, go up and get it receiver who might not have elite separation skills. There's also Kirk Lippett. He's an undersized playmaker, and that's a role I'd love to have on the team, but I don't always want to spend an early pick on that role. But a good deep threat regardless. So we knew we had some options in the draft, and that was going to be important because both Hardman and Ridley didn't have interest in coming back. So I considered franchise tagging Calvin Ridley, but the wide receiver franchise tag was set to be about $30 million. We're talking quarterback money now. I had no intentions of doing that, even if we could make it work, because I still wanted Ridley back on a multi-year deal if we could get it. So we start off here with an easy decision, which is extending Derrick Henry. He should be asking for at least 50% more money, I think, than he is. And the way running backs can age in Madden and the impact they have, it's easy to want to keep him on the team. And we do sign him to a 3-year, $34 million extension. But there were other free agents that were all a lot older, replacement level players, so I didn't want to bring back too many of them. And there's a lot of snaps up for grabs now, moving on from a lot of these players, and chances for backups to emerge out of the draft classes that we've had in this series, which is always a lot of fun. So there weren't too many players to think about bringing back, and those that I was interested in, well, they didn't have a lot of interest in coming back as much. So for Calvin Ridley, who played on the nice one-year deal for us this year, now he wants to cash in this free agency, and I wanted to offer him a 3-year deal that I thought was fair, but ultimately he wasn't going to take it. We had around $100 million in cap space to think about upgrading at receiver, upgrading the offensive line, and something in the front seven that could help us with our run defense. But I felt pretty good about the other areas of the team. So let's go to free agency, where we see Nick Bosa is available, Rashawn Gary, Mike Evans, Devin White. Buccaneers could have some changes here in the coming year with moving on from a couple of stars. Calvin Ridley, Jalen Johnson, Chris Lindstrom. So Lindstrom and Ridley were the first two players that I really wanted to start getting deals with. But there were some other options that I felt filled other needs. Nobody interested here in Calvin Ridley, so I wanted to make a strong offer to hopefully get him to come back before other teams show interest, which I knew was still kind of a tall order. But I felt like out of all the receivers available, he was easily my favorite with his route running and his ability to win at all levels of the field. Nobody else, I thought, brought what he brought to the table. I still wanted that speed guy as well, but a lot of them didn't have interest, and I felt like I could potentially fill that need in the draft. I still wanted to make an offer to McCole Hardman because I do like having him on the team. I also wanted to make an offer to Chris Lindstrom, who again has zero interest in coming here. So I knew it was again going to be a tall order, but he would be the best way for us to upgrade the offensive line, and I gave him a 3-year offer that seemed to be in line with what the Giants were giving him. And of course, you have these upper tier pass rushers, Gary and Bosa, available. You have to be interested if you have as much cap space as us. Now, neither had interest, but if we adjusted our scheme from 3-4 base, or 3-4 under to 3-4 base, and not only helped out our scheme fit percentage, but suddenly Gary liked the fit with us. Now it seemed more realistic for us to actually get Rashawn Gary on a $100+ million contract, possibly. So we gave out the big offer to Rashawn Gary. We do not want to face him as a member of the Texans, but that wasn't really the fix for the run defense that I had in mind. Leonard Williams, J.J. Watt, Tyquan Lewis, Jadeveon Clowney, all of these players would give us something for run defense. Leonard Williams seemed to make the most sense as somebody that could slide right into a starting role along our line. Unfortunately, not very interested, but I put out like a $16-17 million offer anyway. It's tough when not many players are actually interested in your team. So we go to evaluate for the first time, and the Tennessee Titans have added Rashawn Gary. This gives us 3 very good edge rushers, but also the option of trading away Harold Landry, who's on a massive contract and has missed a lot of time in the last 2 years. So Leonard Williams went to the Bears, Chris Lindstrom went to the Giants, and the Indianapolis Colts have a new quarterback, and that is going to be Jalen Hurts. Very big signing for them, and we'll face him now twice this season. Going back to look at receivers, I wasn't a huge fan of the receivers that were available, but I felt like Harold Landry would give us some new options, perhaps through a trade. I like Landry, but Gary is an upgrade. We're going to stick with Terrell Riddick and his superstar development. So I put Landry on the trade block. We continue to up our offer for Calvin Ridley. This got us to $18 a year. But now the Miami Dolphins are interested, and they've clearly offered him a massive deal. So I go back and add on another $1 million a year, and now it's 19 per season. We're still at 4 out of 5 stars or bars there. This situation with Landry also had me thinking, could we perhaps use him as a way to perhaps get the best receiver in the class, Devian Bynes? And I really like that idea because Bynes looks to be far and away the best receiver in the class. But there was one problem. He's injury prone. So is Sal Sexton. Do we want to build this offense around two injury prone players? AJ Bingham, I think he's a step down from Bynes, but still a very good prospect. He's a lot less injury prone, and we could probably get him without moving our first round pick. So this created one of the biggest decision points of the entire offseason. Do we use Harold Landry to help us go get a rookie or a veteran? Because the Giants are willing to offer us Kadarius Toney. And that was the only intriguing offer for a receiver from any of these teams. Kadarius Toney is now 3 years into his NFL career, a superstar development player, one of the most explosive athletes at 95 speed, 95 acceleration. He still needs some work as a route runner and with his release, but there's no denying there's a lot of talent with Toney, and we need talent badly. So that was going to be the easy route if you just wanted to go add a mid-20s superstar receiver. I still liked Calvin Ridley more than Kadarius Toney. 3 years, $60 million. That's my next offer. And we are still below what the Miami Dolphins were offering. If we missed on him, maybe we could at least get back McCole Hardman. But now there are teams interested in him. I'm offering like $8 million a season too. We're not really giving him a small offer. I also wanted to add a defensive lineman, and thankfully JJ Watt was actually interested in us. He wants to go win his first title, and he sees us as perhaps a way of doing that. So we offer him a contract along with kicker Matt Gay. I felt like he was the best available. And here were the next 4 players I had offered to. We evaluate for the second time. 3 players make decisions, and we do add Matt Gay and JJ Watt. So we've upgraded our defense, and I'm happy with that. But now at wide receiver, what do you do? Because Calvin Ridley has joined Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in Miami to form the best receiver trio in the NFL. I then wanted to build up more depth along the D-line because of all the injuries we've seen there and how bad we were against the run. I just wanted to bring in a bunch of reliable veterans, so I made 3 offers. And then upped our offer from McCole Hardman to $9 million over 1 year, which I think is reasonable. We evaluate these offers again. And now the Titans have added Justin Jones and Tyquan Lewis. Again, we're focused on defense there, but we missed out on Hardman in addition to Calvin Ridley. Hardman joins a Panthers team after they just signed Brandon Ayuk. And I noticed, well, they're not a playoff team. DJ Moore, I know it's not bad morale, but it's still causing a negative effect to his ratings. I could see, it making sense for us to go get a receiver like DJ Moore, who I think is a lot better than Kadarius Toney. Toney still has some issues in his game, and now he's a veteran, and next year he's going to play on a 5th-year option, so you're only getting 1 year where his cap hit is low. I would much rather go get DJ Moore. I try to make trades that I can justify for both sides, and to me, the Panthers missing the playoffs, Moore having at least somewhat negative morale, and them adding 2 more starting caliber receivers, I felt like this deal made sense, and it wasn't even close to getting DJ Moore. Harold Landry and a 3 is not even halfway there. Landry would have also fit the biggest need on their team, and they weren't interested. So Gabe Davis was still a free agent. Chase Claypool was. I didn't see either of these players as being the player I want to throw 100 passes to in a year. And I didn't think I would get the most out of them because I want better route running, basically. In the mock drafts, Devian Bynes still goes at 11. And AJ Bingham doesn't go in the first round. We went back and forth. I think I made up my mind a few different times And also, I mean, there were 1,200 concurrent viewers around this time, and I had hundreds of opinions coming in about which receiver to go after. It kind of felt like a lot wanted me to go for Kadarius Toney because it was a safer path, more of a sure thing, and not giving up our first-round pick at all. Like, for sure, you could get Toney and then use the first-round pick on another receiver and perhaps end up with a better overall situation. But the ability of Devian Bynes had me very indecisive. I'd love to trade for DJ Moore. I wanted him more than I wanted Kadarius Toney, but the Panthers were just asking for too much, especially because we have more needs. Here's the Dolphins receiving core, by the way. It's ridiculous. I thought about maybe trading for one of their receivers. Tyreek Hill, they had no interest in trading him to us. And the same was true for Jalen Waddle. And they didn't have the cap space to take on Harold Landry anyway. How about Philadelphia? They just lost their quarterback and were not good last year. Could we bring back A.J. Brown? No, they're wanting too much. Not willing to make that trade. And they'd want even more for Devontae Smith. So like I always do, I put that aside and made some easier decisions instead, like picking up the 5th-year option for Caleb Farley, who has, I think, become the best cornerback on our team, and I think last year especially stood out as our best cover corner. The big topic around the receiver situation was injury, oddly enough. And part of what had me indecisive is that Kadarius Toney's a little bit injury prone as well. Maybe not to the same extent as like Sal Sexton. And I felt like Bynes would likely have a lower injury rating than Toney. But it's not like Toney was significantly less likely to get hurt. And I wasn't sure if F injury could maybe be in the mid-80s or something not that bad. There are some players with draft stories who have much lower injury ratings, and Bynes doesn't have that story. In my head, I was thinking that Devian Bynes had a higher ceiling than Kadarius Toney, especially with where his route runnings are 3 years into his career. And if we did get Toney, I'd likely still be looking for another receiver while having to pay him at least a 5th-year option next season. So New England seemed to be the team you had to trade with because they were mocked to take him. So I was trying to test the waters for how likely we could trade with them without like offering a trade that made the deal now, because it's too early to do that. So I tried to gauge interest by making offers they wouldn't take, and then had a better idea to at least hit the get offers button to see what they would offer. 80 overall safety Adrian Phillips, and Marcus Jones, 74 overall linebacker. That to me told me they were pretty interested in Harold Landry if that's how we wanted to get up to 11. So, we get into the NFL draft. I wanted to see first if Bynes would get there. Our rivals in Houston start the draft off and select defensive tackle Antonio Harmon. Harmon would be the number 1 rated player in this draft class. Quincy Saunders goes number 2, and Philadelphia, now without Jalen Hurts, replaces him with UConn quarterback Ben Knoll. Houston's on the clock again. At 4, they take left tackle Luke Bolton, who was a really solid left tackle prospect. 2 of the better linemen go in the top 5, and then at 6, Minnesota goes with Rakeem Townsend, who was pass rusher, who was, I think, pass rusher of the year. That was the draft story. Teams really focused on the trenches here and not at the more flashy positions. The best offensive linemen continue to go, and we're nearing the Patriots selection as the Jaguars go Brian Barkley, Michigan State. Very good tackle class. Many of them went early. And by this point, I had decided I wanted to go get Devian Bynes, the number 1 receiver, a guaranteed top 5 talent in this draft class. So what would it take to get to 11? We put in Harold Landry. And that would not quite get us up from 29 to 11. So I'd have to throw in another selection. It would have to be at least a 3. So I threw together this offer, and the Patriots have accepted. We give up Harold Landry and a 3rd round pick to move up and also gain a 6th round pick. And we're making the big move to go and get Oregon wide receiver Devian Bynes. We get hidden development, 93 speed, 93 acceleration, but injury was ultimately the rating I wanted to see the most, and we'll check on that later in the video. We make the aggressive move. We go and get the top playmaker. I feel like in many past franchises, I would have gone with the trading for Tony Route instead, but I really wanted to get the best receiver I could with a better contract. And I want somebody who could immediately take on a huge role as the number 1 receiver and handle all those responsibilities. The Dolphins have taken a quarterback, Shelton Cunningham, because they let Tua go in free agency. They have a brand new starting quarterback, and they have already given him all the receivers he could ask for. And we're going to play this Dolphins team Week 7, Monday Night Football. I can't wait. We also get the rematch against the Bills in Week 18 this year. The Steelers then select the riskiest prospect in the 1st round, Sidney Smith, a wide receiver with dangerous speed, but he is not a polished receiver and does not have good hands. The Patriots moved all the way down to 29 and still get a wide receiver, and they take Kirk Lippett, the gadget playmaker. So I knew at this point we had a long wait for our next pick. A lot of my favorite options were going. Can't get them all, of course. We weren't set to select until late in the 3rd round. We had 2 3rd round picks, and I was still willing to move up and continue to be aggressive if it meant getting the right talent. The Dolphins end up taking AJ Bingham, which I felt was pretty disappointing because I'd like him to go somewhere he can get on the field, actually. And tight end was something I was talking about at this point, along with offensive line. But with tight end, I wanted to add one in this class because there were really good options, and I like running a lot of multiple tight end sets. I still wanted somebody who could block, and I want depth behind Sal Sexton because he has shown to be injury prone. Defensive line was still something I was interested in. We added a lot of veteran depth through free agency. So at this point, it was I want a tight end along with a starting center. We had some options that I had graded at least a 3rd round pick. And Stephen Fox was one option, but with B to D run block, it could be a strength or a weakness. I wasn't sure. I wanted more of a sure thing because this is more of a specific role. I don't want just a backup vertical threat. And Dominic Brooks showed he was a great athlete and could run block. And the same was true for Jamie Burnham, who had even more speed. But neither one really gave us a lot of clarity with their route running or receiving abilities. So I had them graded identically, 3rd round players. Jamie Burnham went first, despite being, I believe, projected to go after Brooks. And that kind of made me feel like I had to trade up. And I was willing to give up these late round picks to go and get a player who will actually play. We give up a 6 and 7 to move up 12 spots to select Dominic Brooks. Now, seeing this all again afterwards, Burnham had a lot more ranges in his ratings where it was like A to C. Brooks had some more B to D ranges. He ends up being a good athlete though, so we do add the tight end, cross that off our board. Next up, we wanted to focus on O-line with that 2nd, 3rd round pick. I also wanted to add another playmaker on offense, but it wasn't time. I was hoping I could still go get a starting center, another playmaker, and then perhaps a backup defensive tackle with upside to play early on. And there were a couple players that fit that really well, with Javier Cooks and Austin Flowers being my favorites there. But here, I wanted to fill this need at center with Chris Wembley. And he was a great athlete, a phenomenal prospect. The reason he's still available is because he's very injury prone and there was a storyline on him. So we take another risk to go get a better talent. Then we trade up again. In the 4th round, it gets dirt cheap to trade up. 7th round pick to move up 23 spots. I should just keep trading bottom of the roster players for 7th round picks so I can keep doing this. I wanted to add Rashad Polite, an undrafted projected receiver with great athleticism, kick return ability, a gadget player. Who knows what you're getting with him as far as like a functional receiver goes, but you're getting a dynamic athlete, and I wanted that. I knew I probably couldn't trade up a fourth time in this class, but it meant watching a lot of my favorite remaining prospects go off the board. Javier Cooks, Devontae Singleton, of course going to division rivals, and we'll probably run into some of them at some point. Austin Flowers goes, just a handful of picks before we're on the clock in the 6th round. So we end up selecting Bernard Orchard instead, a player with B tackling, B to D, block shed, and B to D power and finesse. He was a good athlete, a player worth taking a chance on here late, and we'll see his ratings here shortly because that is our last pick. It's only a 5-player draft class, and I wonder if I've been a little too risky at times and I've consolidated too much and I'm not adding enough rookies. But here is the breakdown of our 5-player draft class here in 2023. And Devian Bynes comes in at 79 overall. We have Chris Wimbley at 74, Rashad Polite at 70. Dominic Brooks was a 65. We begin with Bynes, a player we immediately want to take on a major role, and whose route runnings already are basically the same as Kadarius Toney's. Here is the rating comparison. There's basically very little that Toney does better than Bynes already, and that's basically just run after catch stuff. Toney's hands are better right now, I'll give him that, but I think that in 3 years, Bynes is going to be significantly better if he can stay on the field. And ultimately, there is a 4-point injury difference. With our boost from the coaching staff, it is a +4 at 85. Moving on to Dominic Brooks. It's probably not good to trade up for a 65 overall tight end. He does fit, but it's a lot to give up. He's not like a dynamic athlete, but he's a good athlete, good acceleration. He can run block a little bit. Chris Wimbley was our next pick, and I think he's going to be a great starting center again if he can just stay on the field. He's very strong, and I think that he's going to be an asset to us both as a pass blocker and a run blocker. His injury, however, is lower, and with the boost, it's going to be at a 75. Rashad Polite, who knows what we're getting with him? I wanted his playmaking ability. I want him to return kicks. He is a project, but if you get the ball in his hands, he can make an impact. And I have a plan for that. I want to list him at running back and use him as both a running back and wide receiving playmaker and a kick returner. If we can just get him production some way, somehow, that's going to be his best chance to develop. I still think he has a higher upside at wide receiver. Our final pick was Bernard Orchard, and I think he's really interesting because he's an athletic nose tackle. 69 finesse moves on day 1 for a 6th round nose tackle, I think is a win. And now we'll look at some of the other picks around the league. Antonio Harmon was the number 1 pick. We're going to face him for years to come, and he looks to be the total package for that Houston defense. Ben Knoll went a couple picks later to Philadelphia as they start over at the quarterback position. Houston also added Luke Bolton in the 1st round, a hidden dev left tackle, as they strengthen the trenches on both sides of the football. With Bynes, we ended up getting the 2nd best player in the class, but AJ Bingham was the number 6 player actually, as it turns out. He went in the 2nd round to Miami, when he probably should have gone to New England instead in the 1st round. We'll see if he's ever able to get playing time. The Dolphins. They have a brand new quarterback and took Shelton Cunningham. They get a hidden dev quarterback out of Portland State with 99 throw power, and he can run. So not only have the Dolphins moved on from Tua Tagovailoa, they have added a quarterback with the exact opposite skill set. It could be absolute fireworks in Miami if this works out. The Steelers took Sidney Smith. I couldn't. I was willing to take a risk, but Smith to me just didn't have enough in his skill set. He's really good at one thing, but is that one thing going to be valuable enough? On top of that, he's a 65 overall. Kirk Lippett went to New England. So Bingham was the wide receiver 4 in this class then drafted. Lippett is better than I thought he would be. I think he has a chance to be well-rounded and a number 1 receiver for the Patriots. I also like Terrence Jones a lot, and I made him one of my private workout players there at the end. And he's got a versatile skill set. Really excited about him going to the Cincinnati Bengals in this series. Would have loved to add a player like him, but wasn't going to happen this year. Here in the 3rd round, we also see Jamie Burnham was the tight end that we should have targeted. And I think that I overlooked the ranges a bit on him and Brooks, and Burnham ultimately had a better chance at some A to C ranges. He's got hidden dev, he's faster, a better run blocker. He would have been a tremendous addition to the offense. Brooks is still going to probably play, by the way. Devontae Singleton, only corner I liked in the class, goes to the Colts. He's pretty good. And then one of the best steals of the draft, perhaps late, Dalton Taylor to the Ravens. They get a hidden dev, 70 overall receiver. That's pretty good. So we move on to preseason quick for some more signings. Filling out the roster, I want the mentorship of Geno Smith to join our team. And there was also one veteran receiver I liked, and he was still available, and that is Kendrick Bourne. I think he's just well-rounded. If he needed to fill into a large role because of an injury, I think I could trust him. I like Kendrick Bourne for this offense. But I also wanted to add some young quarterbacks. Cedric Pierce out of Arizona is the first rookie we sign, and then the second is going to be Brian Kowalski. Oh yeah, signing undrafted running backs. There's a lot to like here with Sean Godwin. He offers a little bit of everything. Who knows what he could be if he develops. But how about adding another power back in Steve Winston out of Memphis? And then we go to wide receiver. We got a good short route runner here. He can catch the ball. And we noticed, the chat did, I didn't, future starter. He's got a tag that gives him extra experience. So obviously we sign him and then go and bring in Brandon Stills, who's a good athlete and a playmaker with the ball in his hands. We then bring back Javon Bernard, who was on the team for us last year, and a really intriguing center at 64 overall. Tyler Vasquez. He has really solid pass blocking for a 64 overall undrafted player. If he had to all of a sudden move into a spot start or something, at least he has that pass blocking. And we're also going to bring in a backup guard in J.C. Dickens. At tight end, Larry Christmas. Perhaps a practice squad vertical threat player with developmental upside. Really excited about some of these undrafted players. And I wanted to go through that wide receiver quick. Byron Bentley. So why did he have future starter? I think it's because he played well as a rookie. He had 6 touchdowns last year, 400 yards, but Arizona didn't keep him around. He was originally just an undrafted receiver, and now he's got a chance to maybe get some playing time with us. That means there is a lot to look forward to in this coming preseason. So many players that I want to get playing time for. I plan on streaming these preseason games this week and getting us on to year 3. Very excited about what is to come in this series. Feel like there's so much excitement around this franchise right now, and I appreciate all of you being along for the ride with me. I love seeing all the excitement in the comment section. Let's get on to year 3 here as soon as we can. And let me know down below, what did you think of the offseason? And what would you have done differently? There were a lot of big decision points, and I went with a pretty aggressive approach this year, and we'll see if those decisions were the right ones. That's it for today, everybody. Please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and the Titans will be back later this week. Have a great day.